I think this is our, well, I don't think, I know for a fact this is our first Friday night broadcast. And I just said it was an emergency broadcast based on the debate last night. I know we have a lot of thoughts. Lana and I were texting each other a little bit back and forth last night about it, on the initial stages and towards the end. But, we certainly have a lot of thoughts and a lot of things to say. I don't think either one of us are going to sugarcoat the performance last night. I think for me personally, it was heartbreaking to watch. It was very disappointing. Um, and we'll talk a lot about that later, but just we're going to start, Lana. I'm going to call it the not so good, not so bad, and the ugly. And we'll kind of start backwards with the ugly.
Okay.
So the ugly part, obviously, is Joe Biden was a train wreck. It was just awful. I mean, there's no other way to put it other than he seemed unprepared, and he definitely walked right in to the narrative of him being old and senile. What were your thoughts on the ugly part of it?
Oh, ugly. And are we just talking about Joe Biden? Because
No, because
that seems unfair.
yeah, I think well, let's start with Biden, because I think it's
Okay.
fair to at least give our honest thoughts and opinions. Now, if yours is different than mine, obviously, you tell me, but um, you know, I mean, I think most people, when they watched it, did feel a little uncomfortable with Joe Biden's performance. But I think what we're eventually going to do is get to the recovery part of this thing. But I want to kind of just start with what we thought, or what your thoughts were, and if you didn't think anything, but what your thoughts were about his performance.
Oh, well, I mean, I don't know. I think different. I think the ugly is the way the Democrats acted today.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was ugly because if anyone shined a light on his performance, it was the Democrats. And if anyone made it worse than what it was, it's us, the liberals. Like, we did that. Yeah, it was a bad performance. Like, so? Like, I'm just really, he's 80. I don't really know what the expectation was, but I do know that I understood what he was getting across. Did he articulate a lot of it well? No. Did he hit zingers? Did he, miss the wide opening things? Yes. Would he have done that 10 years ago? Maybe so. Like, he's just not good at that. So when he's already not good at debate, then he's older. Now he's got a trillion numbers to remember. So I don't know why that was ever a good idea to seclude him and try to give him all this information, because the one thing that stops me from ever going back to school and, like, at this age,
Math.
right, to go, fucking PhD, a master's, it's having to remember and to take tests. I don't want anything else that I have to remember. I'm going to start losing things. And that is what happens to older people. Just in general, your memory only has a certain capacity. It's in, it's out. Like, there was a lot of numbers. Like, the minute he came out and he was like, he created 15,000 jobs, I was like, wah, wah, wah. It's like, oh no, this is over. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really bad, but I wasn't disappointed. Like, I don't, we'll go on, but I don't feel that fire, that fucking disappointment. I don't want to eulogize him. If he passed out,
Mm-hmm.
that would have given me concern. If he was not able to stand there for 90 minutes, if he started sweating profusely and, like, Mitch McConnell did, just stop stiff. Yeah. But I don't know. Yeah, it was bad. It was awful. It was
Yeah.
awful.
I
But
mean, listen.
It's just,
I get what you're saying, and you and I are we're informed voters, and we have taken a lot of time to formulate our opinions based on research that is real and not research off of underground websites and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I'm watching the performance. I actually went back and started watching it again today, just
mm-hmm.
because a lot of times when you're in the moment watching it,
Right.
you don't
Right.
know what's coming. But when you know what's coming and you're able to watch it again, you sort of reassess and say, okay, let's take a look. The first 10 minutes, if you were to ask me today, was he awful from the get go? I would have said, yeah, he was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, going back looking, the first 10 minutes or so, I was like, okay, he wasn't like really sharp, but it wasn't like I thought, oh no, this is over. It was about 11 minutes in when he forgot basically what he was saying
Right.
on a particular thing. And I think from that point, it really got to Biden. I think he knew that all this stuff that's been forced in his head that he has to remember to say is something that he knows he's not going to be able to do the rest of the night, and
Right.
it got to him. And I think, that was set the tone for the rest of the evening. Now he caught his feet a little bit, during
Yeah,
the
at the
debate,
end. Yeah, at the
but
end he did. And he what he knows. Almost like what he said today in North Carolina. When he spoke about Putin
mhm,
in Europe and Ukraine, boom, 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 right?
yes,
I mean, not that fast. But he knew, like, that's something he was very comfortable with, right? He's very comfortable with what he knows that they're trying to do relative to daycare, junk fees with the airlines. Those are the things that he kind of knows.
hmm,
I can't even fault him with the abortion thing because he's an old white Catholic, like white male Catholic. So it's probably a thing with him anyway, where he has always been raised like you don't get them, whatever
yeah.
those things are. But now, women's choices are being taken away. So now he's going to try to figure out what the fuck is it, right? Like he really has no real clue what it is. And they trying to explain all these things and the things that are happening to people. And don't forget the immigration. And don't forget he's a
Yeah.
felon. Like, it's like we can't remember this stuff.
Right. Well, I think, one of the biggest issues is that he had an open win. I mean, because
Yeah,
when they switched to abortion, that was
yeah,
his alley. It's like, okay, here we go. And I just don't understand. I think he got really mixed up, and for some
right.
reason, he implemented
Yeah,
immigration into
yeah,
the abortion argument, which right there, Donald Trump is like, oh my God, this is a gift. This is
yeah.
the greatest thing that's ever happened.
Well,
Now,
Donald Trump, wasn't he talking about immigration in the beginning? Wasn't like Donald Trump
well, that's
all
all he would talk about. He
yeah.
would always come back to immigration because he just knows that
Right,
that's a winning argument for
right.
him and that's a losing argument for Joe Biden. So if he
Which it
could
actually is
somehow
not. It
yeah, if
isn't.
he could somehow bring it back to immigration, he always did. Now, you would see that the moderators would say, Mr. President, the question was about climate change, and, it was like he just went off on tangents. So believe me, we're going to get to Donald Trump. But I think just in fairness,
Hmm.
we're going to express, anything that may have, and I will say, when I did watch it and when he did that first stumble and when he first did it, I was like, you know what, this really sucks because for over 4 years, the right wing propaganda media has put together this narrative that Joe
Right.
Biden is senile and doesn't know where he's at. And time and time and time and time again, Joe Biden has proven that wrong. Last night, he didn't prove it right, but it gave them enough ammunition to say, see, we told you so. But again, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves because we are going to get to a good place by the time we end this.
I know that. Yeah, I get it.
But
But
yeah,
but he talked about that. See, this is the thing. It's like people were so busy with the fucking pants on fire that they didn't listen to him, right? Yeah, he
mm-hmm,
stumbled a lot.
yeah,
When he said illegal aliens, I was like, oh, what are
yeah,
you talking about right now? But he also talked about opioid. He's like, hey, been asking you for these machines. It was in a bipartisan deal that, sniffs out the fentanyl and y'all won't give it to me, right? But we're not hearing that because we're so busy with the first 5 minutes or the next 5 minutes. And we're not hearing that he actually did say some things. he did. He wasn't articulate, and he's sick. And maybe he was breathing through his mouth because he couldn't breathe through his nose.
Well, and see, and that didn't come across well either. His voice sounded
Right.
weak. He was
Right.
coughing during the middle of his, and they said he was sick. You
He's
know
always
what?
sick.
The problem is that a lot of people just are going to be like, oh, okay, yeah, you're just going to make excuses. It doesn't matter, because really these debates are always optics. If you remember Charlie Brown's teacher,
Mhm.
and you just never understand what the teacher said. It was just womp, 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 womp. If Donald Trump and Joe Biden, all you heard was womp, 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 you would just think the entire time, oh my God, Donald Trump is dominating this thing, because it didn't matter what words come out. It just matters on how you
Right. He's
present them.
louder and more bombastic. So it's like, oh, he's not old. He must be young and energized. And
And he's
that's
confident with his lies. He does not care. He's confident with them.
because guess what? When you lie, you don't have to remember your lies. Of course, he didn't have to prepare
Right.
for anything. He just spit numbers out of his ass and his mouth and anywhere else they were coming. But yeah, no, Biden did have a bad debate.
Yeah, I mean, that's just
It
it.
was
He had
bad.
a terrible debate.
It was really bad.
I know a lot of people are comparing it to Obama's first debate, but
No.
I think the problem is that with Obama, everybody knew he was bouncing back. Like there was no he was just like Obama was kind of like, why am I even here?
Well, Obama wasn't losing his words either. I mean, Biden
No,
was
he wasn't, and
losing his
that's what I'm saying.
train
But
of
they're just
thought.
comparing it in the fact where everybody was panicking after Obama's debate, and in fact, literally days after, if you remember correctly, people were really afraid that Obama could have lost to Romney, especially after that debate. I remember feeling
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
sick after it. I was like,
Right.
dude, what are you
Right.
like? You are 10 times better than him.
Right.
How did you let this happen? Then, of course, the second debate happens, and Obama was like, LeBron James. He was just
Right.
like, I'm taking this game over, and it's I
Yeah.
guess we're gonna end this thing. So, which he did. But the question is, will there be a second debate? And will Biden, if there is, will he be able to do the same thing that Obama did in the second debate? But